What is up, guys? It's Nick Torius here with another video, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to get a tattoo apprenticeship, as well as a story of how I got my tattoo apprenticeship. So basically, a tattoo apprenticeship is pretty much necessary. It's both necessary and it's not necessary, because I don't want to say too much, but a lot of times you can just pretty much draw. If you're good at tattooing, you can get a job tattooing, But at the same time, you don't want to be tattooing at your crib, because it's illegal. You get charged a lot of money and you go to jail if you get caught. Also, you don't learn about the sterility of everything. You don't learn about keeping. You don't learn about cross contamination. You don't learn about how to set up properly. You don't learn about the machines and about lining and about how to stretch your skin and everything. If you're just doing it yourself at your house, you'll eventually get better, but you're not learning everything you can learn doing actual tattoo apprenticeship. So in my experience working in a tattoo shop, there's I've met artists that went to tattoo school, and I met artists that they went and did an apprenticeship, and I met artists that didn't do an apprenticeship. And I noticed that the artists that didn't do an apprenticeship, they were pretty good, even though they didn't do a tattoo apprenticeship. But I mean, here in America, you can't really get a job unless you have a tattoo apprenticeship. So I'm not saying don't get a tattoo apprenticeship. But because a lot of times people were telling me why are you doing an apprenticeship? You're just wasting time. You're doing community service hours. You're doing this, that you're not getting, because you're not gonna get paid for an apprenticeship. A lot of times you actually have to pay for one. Some places they charge $5,000, $10,000 for an apprenticeship, as well as schools too. There's some tattoo schools that are $5,000-$10,000 too, and you can go there. But a lot of artists that they tell me that they went to tattoo school, they tell me they didn't learn anything, as well as they get disrespected by the artists that actually did an apprenticeship at the tattoo shops. A tattoo apprenticeship is good because you get to actually be there, and you get to actually see how the tattoos are being made. You watch the whole process, the talking with the customer, the client, about their ideas, and drawing it up, designing it, putting the stencil, shaving, just doing it. I mean, honestly, for me, learning tattooing, I learned the most by actually doing it. There were some artists I would watch, and I would be like, oh, okay, let me try that next time. But watching tattoos didn't really teach me anything, because they would say you gotta watch a lot of tattoos, but watching it didn't really do anything for me. I didn't actually start getting better and noticing any progress of tattooing until I actually tattooing, because I didn't start tattooing until 6 months into my apprenticeship. And in those 6 months, I would watch tattoos. I would trace paper. I would draw a lot of traditional stuff. But then and I would draw a lot too. But then I would notice that when I started actually tattooing, I sucked. All the tattoos were really bad. They were just the same as if I never did any of that stuff. Because I would watch the artist tattooing, but I wouldn't understand anything that they were doing. But then I would actually tattoo. And when I was tattooing, the next time when I saw the artist doing something, I would be like, oh, okay, let me do that next time. I was actually learning when I was watching the artist, because I was actually doing it. So I feel the best way to do it is actually just doing it. But at the same time, you have to learn about what you can touch. When you're dealing with tattoos, basically you're dealing with You're basically dealing with bodily fluids. And those bodily fluids, they're really bad. They'll contaminate. They'll give you there's a lot of diseases. There's not just AIDS, and not just the tuberculosis. Or hepatitis. There's a lot of different diseases that you can get. There's staph infections and stuff. You have to learn about all that stuff. You have to get your bloodborne pathogen. You have to actually take that stuff serious. Because there's a lot of times when I first started tattooing, I got poked 6 times. I was so scared. I was like, oh, damn, I don't know what they got. Now I might get something, because it's really easy to poke yourself. Same when I was piercing, I would poke myself a couple times. But with tattooing, because I switched to tattooing because I didn't want to get poked anymore. And then when I was tattooing, I got poked even more tattooing than I did piercing. I'm always a germophobic person. I'm very worried. I'm very germophobic, and I'm very much a hypochondriac. So I basically just like worry like, oh shit, am I going crazy right now? Because I would be going crazy because I would think, oh, do I have something because I got poked? So I would like go straight to the doctor, like get myself checked. Like I'm clean, so I'm like fine now. But at that time, I was stressed out about it. But it's like, when you're dealing with that stuff, the inks are contaminated. The tables that you touch, like their gloves, you know, you don't want to touch. You don't want to be touching skin, and then you touch your phone to check your messages. You're wearing the same gloves, and you go back to the skin. That's why I see a lot of artists that do at their houses. They don't even wear gloves. They don't wrap their cords, their clip cords for their machines. They don't wrap anything. They just buy a machine for like $80 on Amazon, and they just like put it to use. They're just like on go, and they just do it. They're not worried about like any diseases. They're not worried about poking themselves or like cross contamination or any of that stuff. And that stuff is really important. Also, I feel like an apprenticeship is important because it doesn't just teach. It's basically like in my experience, it's basically just like military, like just teaching you discipline. Because a lot of people that do get into tattooing and piercing, they're like those rebel kids that are just like, I don't want like a desk job. I want a job where it's like I'm my own boss and I get to make all the rules, and like they don't really want to listen to other like authority, because I'm the same way. Like I don't like listening to authority. So a lot of the times those kids aren't necessarily like the ones that are like super into cleaning and super into thinking about what's good. Those are they're like the type of people that are kind of reckless. They'll throw stuff. They'll wipe a skin and throw it on the floor with with napkins. They'll wipe a skin with napkins and they'll throw it on the floor. And like now the floor is contaminated. They don't care. They won't think about that. They'll like, I wouldn't say they'll reuse a needle on someone, but if like they're the type of people that's like, if they're like low on money and they're like, I want to have like one more needle, they might do it. So that's why an apprenticeship is so important, because it changes you from that type of person. It makes you like my apprenticeship basically made me OCD, because I was a very messy person. Now I like to have everything like very orderly. I like to organize everything more now. I like to do a lot of different things that have to do with cleanliness, and that was all because I had to clean everything. I was cleaning a lot when I was doing the apprenticeship, and I actually started caring. At first, I didn't really care about the shop like that, but then like as the time went on, I started feeling like it was my shop, and I was like, actually like taking care of it like it was mine. At least I think I was. My managers didn't think so, but so basically, how to get one is I wouldn't say like a sketchbook is that important, because a lot of people it depends like on the shop. I feel like the best thing to do is actually have a completed sketchbook rather than a really good one, because a lot of times I hear people saying like, oh, they went to go they went to go see for an apprenticeship, and they're like, oh, come back when your book is finished, rather than, oh, these are good. They'd rather see like the consistency and the dedication, rather than, oh, this looks pretty good. Also, it helps knowing that you already tattooed. Like if you tattooed something, if you have some type of experience tattooing, like fruits or like pig skin, even people. Like if you have like some type of talent, like honestly, if you are really good at tattooing, then you don't really need like it, because I know a lot of people that went to prison and they were tattooing in prison. They came out and now they're tattoo artists because they didn't do an apprenticeship. They just went in and tattooed, and they're really good. So the shops just pick them up because they need good artists. I went to another tattoo shop where I knew someone that was working there, and I was showing them my sketchbook and stuff. They said, "Oh, this is all right," but they weren't really looking for apprentices. And he said that the guy actually asked me, "Do you smoke weed?" And at the time I didn't, and I was like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Oh, I can't hire you because you don't smoke weed." And I thought that was crazy. I was like, "Well, what? You're not gonna hire me because I don't smoke? That's like the opposite of every other job." He's like, "Yeah, we all smoke here, and we can't hire you if you're not gonna smoke with us." I was like, "All right, whatever." And then I actually went and looked for another apprenticeship somewhere else. So I was looking up tattoo shops in my phone, and I was like, "Oh, there's a place called Tacos and Tattoos." So I went and I brought my sketchbook and everything, and I went in and I was like, "Oh, I'm looking for a job here as a tattoo artist." And he's like, and the guy was like, "Oh, we don't do tattoos here. This is a restaurant. Like, we sell tacos." And I was like, "Oh, this is a restaurant?" He's like, "Yeah, if you want a job, let me go get my manager." And I was like, "Oh," I was super awkward there. I was just like, yeah, go get your manager." So the guy went and got his manager, and I just dipped, because like that was super embarrassing, like, because it's like, it's not a tattoo shop. It's like they sell tacos, and food isn't allowed in a tattoo shop. I want to be an apprentice here, and then my manager, he interviewed me. He asked me about like what I do and stuff, like to get money because it's unpaid, and he was telling me that like a lot of the stuff that we do, like highlighting papers and putting stickers on cars and stuff like that, it's like, it seems like bullshit at first, like while you're doing it, but then like you'll see that actually turns you into the person. Like it's all for a reason, and I really believe that because I seen changes in myself after I was doing all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty easy, like, to get the apprenticeship. I just went and I just asked, and then he hired me, and I just started the next week, and just came back. So, I mean, my experience was pretty easy. Like, I didn't have to pay anybody. I didn't have to keep going all over the place looking for an apprenticeship. I just went to one spot, and then I went to a restaurant that wasn't even a tattoo shop. But a lot of times people do get rejected for apprenticeship positions, and you just got to keep going out there and looking up tattoo shops. You just got to, a lot of times too, because I didn't have any tattoos when I got my apprenticeship. If you just like go to a tattoo shop and you spend money and you're like, oh, and you get a lot of tattoos and you get to know the person, like, this is what I heard from other people. If you just spend money and you just like get to know people in the shop, then you can ask for an apprenticeship eventually, and then you'll get it. It's the same as like getting any other jobs. Like, you just gotta network with people. You just gotta be comfortable talking to people. So yeah, it's pretty much how I got my apprenticeship and how to get apprenticeship. Apprenticeships are really important. If you are in an apprenticeship right now, don't get discouraged because I know you're not getting paid. It's, you just gotta find a way that you just gotta see the bigger picture when it comes to that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions with anything, you want me to make a video about, just send me a video and I'll make a video about it. If you guys have any questions on anything in general that you want me to make a video about, just send me a DM at Nick Torius or at 6 Feet Interviews. Follow my Instagram at Nick Torius at 6 Feet Interviews, and also comment how you got your apprenticeship if you're looking for an apprenticeship. Also tell me this, like, just say a story of like what happened when you got your apprenticeship and how you were able to like survive those years and stuff, because it's pretty hard. Like, apprenticeships aren't easy. It's a lot of cleaning. But yeah, leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll holler at you guys later.